because he's not calling for a withdrawal. He's basically just calling for perpetual war. He basically just wants 2001 to never end again. Like I said, to satiate some kind of bloodlust that he can't get in civilian life. That is the reason that he comes up with idiot ideas like this, and they deserve to be mocked. I don't care if he's a Navy SEAL.
When the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part.
Joe Biden's Afghanistan withdrawal has been heavily criticized from many quarters, but thankfully, we have a solution to this. A guy called Jocko Willink, who is a former Navy SEAL, now turned, I guess, motivational speaker, author, whatever you want to call it, has a solution, a genius solution to this problem. So let's hear what he has to say. And he made this video on his Instagram, and he is speaking as if he were Joe Biden. Let's watch.
Good evening. I wanted to give you an update on the current situation in Afghanistan. As you know, we were set to leave Afghanistan this month, and as we began the final drawdown, I made some critical errors. Namely, I underestimated the strength of the Taliban, and I overestimated the strength and capability of the friendly Afghan forces. This was my fault. And due to my mistake, the Taliban has taken control of Afghanistan. There are reports now that ISIS and Al-Qaeda are working alongside them.
Is there any evidence for this? I have not heard any evidence that there is a significant presence by ISIS and Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, and certainly not with the capability that they had back in 2001. So this is BS.
Unfortunately, there are tens of thousands of Americans on the ground there, as well as friends and allies of America on the ground. And these people, Americans and our allies, are all stranded. And that is my fault. But they will not be stranded for long.
Here we go.
In the next 48 hours, America will be in control of most major airports in Afghanistan. Any resistance we meet from the Taliban or otherwise when we seize these airports will be destroyed completely and without mercy. From those airports, we will conduct rapid strike rescue missions until we have recovered and evacuated all our citizens, allies, and friends.
When you say friends, do you also mean refugees? I have a feeling that you don't.
Any person that interferes with these operations will be killed. We will also recover or destroy all aircraft, vehicles, weapons, and sensitive equipment that we left behind. Any person utilizing, guarding, or located in close proximity to these weapons or equipment will be killed.
Okay, so a little Afghan girl walks around an abandoned Humvee. Boom, predator strike. Blown away. That's kind of what he wants. I mean, it's great if like one of them was abandoned in the middle of a field, but what if you have equipment stockpiles in the middle of a city? What, are you going to bomb blocks, entire blocks of the city just to get rid of the equipment? By the way, Raytheon would probably veto this plan because the more equipment that is lost and destroyed means the more equipment that you'll need to buy again.
Once we have evacuated all friendly personnel and recovered or destroyed the weapons and equipment left behind, we will depart Afghanistan.
But
we will continue to monitor everything that happens in Afghanistan.
Surveillance state.
Through our ground and airborne surveillance equipment.
Wait, you're going to leave Afghanistan, but you're still going to have ground surveillance? in Afghanistan. You're still going to overfly the country illegally, you know, a sovereign state. Uh, wow. Interesting, this surveillance plan. Maybe you should just advocate for Afghans having Facebook. That way they can be have surveillance for free.
Terrorist training camps or activity will be targeted and destroyed. Gross violations of human rights will be stopped through overwhelming force.
He's basically just calling for more war crimes at perpetuity and then claiming that he cares about human rights violations. You gotta be kidding me. This guy does not look like a guy who cares in the least about human rights violations. Let's be clear.
And any group in Afghanistan fighting for freedom, liberty, and basic human rights will be supported through special operations forces and ruthless precision air power.
So he still wants to continue the war. He's not leaving. There's no departure. There's no withdrawal. It's just more war, permanent surveillance, permanent bombing of suspected terror facilities or whatever, and furthermore, more special operations taking place to support any resistance. This guy basically just has like a bloodlust that hasn't been satiated in any way, and just wants to continue shooting at people.
We will continue that dedicated support until the enemy is no longer a threat to humanity or to the good people of Afghanistan.
Most of which by now have been bombed, according to your plan.
May God bless America, and may God have mercy on the souls of our enemy, because we will not.
So this guy is basically the living embodiment of someone who didn't get the memo that Sergeant Slaughter, you know, that wrestler from the 80s who later turned into a G.I. Joe character, he didn't get the memo that that was a parody. And I think it must have stuck to him. And now thinks that he's exactly like that, except taking himself seriously. This is ridiculous. This is the reason why the Department of Defense is led by a civilian. Because if you had, you know, a dumbass like this guy in charge of actual defense policy, holy shit, you'd be in like perpetual war with 50 different countries simultaneously. This is crazy. It's insane how anyone can take this seriously. And yet they do. Now, I want to say something that is slightly controversial. I have a lot of friends who served in Afghanistan or Iraq or possibly both. And these are all people who are quite dear to me. They are really good human beings. They along with, I suspect, the grand majority of Americans who served in Afghanistan and Iraq probably went there with the best of intentions and genuinely believed that what they were doing, as horrible and traumatic as it might leave something good in the long run. I think that is their hope. And a lot of them I know are struggling right now with this idea that all these efforts in Afghanistan, you know, all the risks that they took when they were serving in Afghanistan could be in vain. Having said that, those who were trained in, to be special forces, whether Navy SEALs, SAS, whatever you want to call it, these people are batshit fucking insane. And I should also know, because I know someone who also served in Afghanistan with special forces. And he went off the deep end, like completely off the deep end. And this guy is also a living example of this. I suspect it has to do with the level of training, the level of brainwashing, because yes, there is a degree of brainwashing in this. This idea that you are at the top of a pyramid of an institution that basically exists to kill human beings. That's the fact. That's what militaries do. And you are the spearhead of that. You are the most capable killing machine in a giant killing machine. And that will get to your head. And I'm not sure these people can sort of revert to civilian life without that conflict in their head. And that's why you end up with people like this. And that's also why you end up with people like Robert J. O'Neill, also another former Navy SEAL. I believe he's claimed he's the one who who killed bin Laden. God knows if that's true. But he's a regular now in Fox News. And he makes tweets like this. Did you see how the Taliban rolled through the streets and took back their country? I know a few dudes who would do the same with me right now. This is basically treason. This is a guy who supposedly did all that effort to defend his country, and yet is basically calling for a coup, led by him and I suppose his other Navy SEAL buddies, because I'm pretty sure that's the few dudes who he's referring to, and I would not be surprised if they genuinely believe this as well. And these people, like, again, are completely off the deep end, super right wing. I just don't know how they can peacefully coexist in civilized society. And what was more surprising to me was the reaction of a lot of Jocko Willink's fan base to a tweet that I made, to this one. And I'm going to show you the tweet, which was my typical, Rodrigo sarcasm trolling. I know I'm not the best behaved person on Twitter. I will admit that, first and foremost. But something this ridiculous deserved a tweet like mine. Especially looking at the guy's face. This, ladies and gentlemen, is why steroids are bad for you. I would say this was pretty innocuous, and I'm sure that anyone who follows this guy's, leadership skills and toughness, believes in toughness and having thick skin, would just brush this off. But no, these are some of the replies that I got, and I've only put the ones that probably stood out the most, but I got probably like 100 or 200 replies to this. But I'm going to show you some of them. And just try and judge the kind of people who write this, which clearly are the people who are attracted to a guy like Jocko Willink. This is why you live free. A men sick with balls who fight evil so you don't have to. Now go back to your wobby and bottle. And that's a woman, no less. So yeah, real manhood here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why military service should be mandatory in all Western nations. Significantly reduces the chance of being infected by wokeness. I bet this guy has never served in the military. You need less estrogen, ma'am. So, do you notice the common denominator of all these? All of these are attacks against my manhood. Mr. Progressive Jocko inspires people to be the best version of themselves. Meanwhile, you're most likely a Democrat, which means you're entitled and expect something for nothing. So, right-wingers who basically live in a universe of, the strong must dominate the weak. Yeah, of course. I can't count how many soy boy replies I got. I bet he's got one strong wrist from jacking off his husband's boyfriend. So I'm a woman, but I'm also gay, apparently. Yeah. That's the best, the snappiest answers that these people could come up with. Just insults against masculinity and sexuality. If you could be any weaker, you literally could be a wet piece of toilet paper. I'm not going to go into details, but just look at that profile. This guy has more honor in his left pinky than you'll ever have, beta boy. You're such a brave little incel keyboard warrior. And you pee sitting down. That's your take. Go outside, lift something, do something useful, get off Twitter. Ironically, that he's writing this on Twitter. Stop being a sponge to society. Lift something. See what I mean? Like the common denominator of all this is go to the gym, get absolutely jacked, be a man. Yeah. So there you have it. That's the kind of people that people like Jocko Willink cultivate. That's the people who are drawn into this. It's people who their entire worldview is shaped on this idea of, might makes right. The strong should dominate the weak. Just uber masculinity, basically. And the irony is that these people are all they sound like incredibly insecure people. And that is why they fall into this kind of self-help inspirational rabbit hole. I don't know whether Jocko is genuinely, he's genuine in his self-help teachings. I don't care. Really, I don't care. I just think this whole industry of self-help is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. If you need help, get therapy. Go with a professional. Don't buy a freaking book by an ex-Navy SEAL and think that's going to sort out all your problems and think that that's going to make you a better man. And then decide that not only are you going to read the guy's books, that you're going to end up wanting to look like him as well. Anyway, but independent of all that, that was a fucking stupid take on Afghanistan. A fucking stupid take that deserves to be ridiculed and deserves to be mocked in every possible way. Because he's not calling for a withdrawal. He's basically just calling for perpetual war. He basically just wants 2001 to never end again. Like I said, to satiate some kind of bloodlust that he can't get in civilian life. That is the reason that he comes up with idiot ideas like this, and they deserve to be mocked. I don't care if he's a Navy SEAL. So, on that note, please like, please share. Most importantly, please subscribe. And if you have issues in life, get professional help. Don't fall into this self-help rabbit hole from people who you have no idea what their credentials are in solving people's mental health problems. So, yeah.